Howdy, howdy, ho.
Heidi, Heidi, ho.
My name is Ryan McNeil,
My name is Michael Frieri.
and we're back another episode of the Brinx, Hearse podcast. And today, we're going to be talking about a film that Mikey watched last night. I saw it a while ago, but Mikey wanted to talk about this movie, especially. He decided, we didn't know what we were going to do for this episode, and he said, we're talking about this today.
Yes,
What is
last
that,
night
Mike?
I finished the the movie. This is topic of discussion, and that movie, my friends, Christopher Nolan, magnum opus, Inception. Ooh. Dun, 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 dun. I remember it having like big boom.
It's
at
like
some
the
point. I was like, oh my
blowhorn.
god!
It's like a foghorn on a boat is what it almost sounds like.
Yeah, when they're in limbo.
Yeah, the Hans Zimmer feels like he uses it a lot.
All right,
That's our biggest takeaway from the movie.
This is going to be a spoiler review, obviously. So
Came out 12 years ago, whatever it is.
if you haven't seen it and you don't want to be spoiled, or if you haven't seen it and you're just one of those people who don't care, welcome. And if you have seen it, welcome.
Yes. Welcome to all.
Welcome to all.
Any and all.
And I guess I'm going to start off with my initial thoughts. And that would be, I absolutely loved it. I think it builds up perfectly, like you said. I didn't finish it all in one swoop. I finished it with like 40 minutes left, and I thought it was pretty good in the beginning, like at first, and then it all builds up so much, and then the payoff is just insane and just amazing.
Yeah, I remember. I think the last time I saw it was might be a couple years ago now.
Really, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I should have had you refresh your memory.
No, I like this how.
Okay.
It's kind of someone who just watched it, someone who's familiar with it. But I remember thinking how it's a fairly complex idea.
Very complex.
But the way in which they set it out, if you're just paying attention, it becomes fairly simple to follow.
Yes.
And if you drop somebody in like the third act of that movie and you try to explain it, it's literally impossible to explain to somebody. But watching it, you actually can follow it quite clearly. And that's what makes it so much more special, is that it's this big idea that you feel that you're in on.
Yes, what amazed me is how intricate the story is for someone to just think up of and have such a cohesive manner about it. Like, I had to go back a couple times, I had to go back a few seconds to see when they were explaining stuff, just because I don't know, my mind kind of wanders off a little bit, so I'm like, all right, wait, what the hell did they say? Because this is important, and I'm gonna get lost.
Yeah.
But once you understand it, you just go running. And I think it's not like a huge part of the movie where they have to explain everything. They kind of explain it in the beginning. They do that with what was the female character? Ariadne or something? Ariadne. They kind of explain how dreams work when he's teaching her about dreams. So that's kind of the way the audience, and then they kind of, explain the dire situation as the movie goes on.
Yeah, and as it goes on, they give you, they set up the basic idea. Then it goes on to give you a little more nuggets. This situation, this happened, this situation, this happened. And just, it slowly builds it up instead of dumping it all on you at once, which is very smart.
Yeah, and the ideas of the dream within a dream is kind of thrown at you right away. That's the first scene.
Yeah.
With Saito, they're doing a dream within a dream, because that's so important in the main heist, where they do a dream, three or, and I think eventually they get to 4 levels down with limbo. But should we explain what the movie's even about first, maybe?
No, I think people get the basic idea.
Okay.
People go inside other people's dreams to, at least in this movie, people are going inside dreams to retrieve information.
Yeah, retrieve information.
And the big thing for this one is they're going into, I believe it's a billionaire son.
Yes, Fisher,
and they're played by Cillian Murphy.
Yeah.
And it's Leonardo DiCaprio puts together, it's a heist movie where he gets his team to get this piece of information from him.
Yes.
And that's all you really need to know.
Well, yeah, and it's motivated because the character Saito, he offers this job to him in exchange to wipe his criminal record so he can see his family again.
Yes.
Which is basically the main driving point of Cobb.
That's why we care about
character.
Yeah, that's why we care about Cobb, and because he's basically got in trouble with the Dream Police, if you want to call it that.
Yes.
The Dream
yes.
Police,
The
which
Dream
is actually
Police.
a cheap trick song, but moving on.
Is it a Cheap Trick song?
Yeah. The dream police, they live inside of my head. Yeah. But it's just an interesting little wrinkle in there. And another thing that kind of builds the world, it's like, oh, there's like a law and order to what you can do in dreams, what you can't do in dreams. But it's like, it's a criminal movie because they're on like the underside of this whole game, basically.
Yes. Well, they don't really explain what Cobb does with dreams for a living. I know he like first started testing it with like the military, and like he was like, I think he like helped with that testing. That was the concept, and then eventually it became like a criminal thing, and I guess he just uses that just to constantly retrieve information, which was the first sequence.
And he's very good at it. He's apparently the best at it.
He's the best.
I also like the idea how I believe they show him on the part where they go in a basement and they have like people hooked up to the dream machines because it's almost like a drug. And it's like a crack house.
Well, yeah,
I thought that was a very interesting parallel to draw.
That's when they went to go see the chemist, Yusef, and he said that they actually go there to wake up because that's their new reality, which is the issue with Cobb and Maul, the wife, when they go down into limbo for like 50 years. They said that they just started to believe that it was their reality.
Which is what they return to at the end, correct? With like the crumbling buildings.
Yes. Okay, that's that's limbo. That's Cobb's dream, and then him and Maul built up the entire dream for 50 years, and that's
right. Yeah.
And she like Ariadne. I have to look at how to pronounce it. Was when they were in there. She was like, "Oh, you built all this?" It's like, "Yeah. Well, it took us 50 years, but this is our architecture."
Yes.
Because Cobb was actually the architect when he was...
That's right. I remember that now.
Cobb was the architect, and he is kind of... because of the issue with limbo, he was kind of no longer able to dream himself. So he hires an architect. He's kind of just like the captain of everything.
Yeah.
His role is just, overall bring it together.
And I think throughout this movie, one thing I think about a lot is Christopher Nolan is so great at using practical effects. And like the hallway fight is a lot of that's practical. They actually built a hallway and turned it. So when they're going on each side, they're doing
Arthur, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
But even the ones that are clearly CGI, like the like when the street goes up and folds on itself, it still looks really phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
And I think they strike such a good balance between what's practical and what's CG, so that the line gets blurred the more you use practical stuff.
Right. I didn't think the avalanche when they're in Fisher's mind, or not. I don't think it was Fisher's mind actually, but like the last.
Yeah, I think that was the last one in Fisher's
The third
mind.
layer.
Yeah. That
was practical. They blew up a mountain.
I don't believe I knew that.
Yeah, and
they blew up a mountain.
They literally set charges on a mountain. How do you think they got an avalanche?
I don't know, dude. They blew up a mountain.
The only thing that looked bad to me was when it was Ariadne's dream and he was going through this, and then the city folded on itself, and then they walked onto the opposite side, and like their legs. Yeah,
it looked weird.
It looked so bad.
Yeah, I do remember that bit where when they do step.
Yeah.
I believe it's at the end of that scene when she starts to imagine stuff from the real world, and he's like, "No, you can't do that, or else you won't be able to decipher between each." Yeah, and it's just little things like that send you down a tangent of like, oh, so there's people who have probably gotten stuck because they don't know which is real and what's the dream anymore.
Nolan builds so much on the detail of the concept of the dream, and like the way, like obviously there's the movie's own concept of the dream because of the way the job works and stuff, but the concept of a dream itself is explained really well. Yeah, where he's like, where Cobb goes to Ariadne in that dream, he goes, think of how you remember how you got here. You can't remember because you're in dreams. You always just end up in the middle.
Yeah, which I love that.
Yeah, and which is so accurate. Dreams you can never. I dream like every night. Like I know not everyone dreams for some reason, which is kind of weird.
I believe it's every person dreams every night. Only few people remember them. Okay, Not everybody remembers their stuff. I'll remember a dream once every 3-4 months maybe.
Really?
That's it for me, yeah.
I remember them every night.
Really? What happened last night? If it's not too personal.
I'd rather not share.
Okay.
Wait.
I feel like I dreamed more when I was little, though.
Oh, yes. I remember dreams like... Here, maybe I'll tell a story of a dream.
Go for it.
There was a recurring dream I had, which I really don't have recurring dreams. And I was like really young. And I was sitting in the passenger seat of my dad's like old Ford Escape. And there was a tiger in the driver's seat. Or maybe I was in the driver's seat. The tiger was in the passenger seat. And the tiger, it was a talking tiger. And I had this dream 3 times. The first 2 times, he was mean. And he was like, he was trying to attack me, and I had to escape. And then the 3rd time, it's been a while since I had this dream. I grew up a little bit. The 3rd time, the tiger says to me, "You don't need me anymore." And then he leaves the car, and I never had the dream again.
Wow. That's like a Jedi thing.
It's so weird. I think I explained this on my other podcast, Gravy Talk. But
what a plug!
Shout out Gravy. And another interesting detail that Nolan says, or Cobb says, to make note of this, is or I think Ariadne asked, like, wouldn't people be able to tell that you're in a dream? Mm-hmm. But then he said, well, I think that was the point when she was making the real world stuff. And she was like, well, how would they be able, why wouldn't they, well, they would know that they're not in a dream. And he said, well, when you're in a dream, you never realize that stuff is out of the ordinary, that something's out of the ordinary until you're out of the dream.
Yeah.
So like me, like, I thought sitting and talking to a tiger in my dad's car was normal until I wake up and I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, exactly.
Or like same thing with like, I'll have a dream of my house and like the architecture of my house isn't exactly the same.
That happens a lot where things are just rearranged in a weird way, or the walls are a different color, or just something is off. And it's those things you don't pick up on when you're there. No, but that's funny though you mentioned you had a car dream, because when I was little, I remember I had a dream where I was like 7 or whatever, and I had to like drive a car. And I don't know how to drive a car when I'm 7. And there was a pirate in the back seat who was like grilling me on. He's like, "Oh, he kept complaining," and I was like, "I'm sorry, Mr. Pirate." And I ended up crashing into my neighbor's deck.
I'm sorry, Mr. Pilot.
Yeah. But
just they really hit dreams. On such a...
We got to do a counter how many times we say the word dream in this too. But
well, you know, I mean, it's a movie about dreams, but Ryan, what do you expect?
But no, they do. They explore so many different avenues, so many different little ideas that even just somebody who does dream casually or dreams regularly, they might not pick up on those things until somebody points it out. And this movie points all those things out.
Yes, exactly. Like, it's always like the unspoken truths that you're like, I don't think anyone else experiences this. But especially when you get like a whole $800 million accruing movie that explains, like, yes, these are dreams. You're like, holy crap. Anyways, moving on. I think the characters, the ensemble of characters, is fantastic through and through.
Yeah, I think they're Christopher Nolan characters in that they all have like maybe like kind of 1 or 2 things about them, but that's all you really need because the story's so good. So you're not begging for like, oh, a great character like Cobb. It's like, okay, he's trying to get his kids back, sure, whatever. Like, that's all I need to know about him.
Exactly.
And just charisma of the actor alone works off of that, and that's what works with all these characters.
Right. And like characters like Eames, Tom Hardy, he has like this. Him and Arthur have like a little niche banter going back and forth. Like,
yeah.
And like
They're
you look at
together.
Arthur. Arthur's just very like well cut.
Yeah, he's
almost
like
like
prim and
soldier.
proper. Yeah.
Kinda.
Soldier. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, he's like, you know, he's like a right hand man, and I think he had the role of research.
Oh, okay.
But
Eames is a little more free will burning.
Free wheel burning. What do you mean by that?
He's just kind of a wild card. Kind of does his own thing, kind of a little more than else.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
and
he still sticks with the mission, but like,
yeah, and
he's got a little more oomph to him.
I loved him. I think he's
great. Yeah.
He's probably my favorite.
Well, you don't like Leo. You're not a big Leo guy.
I have to say.
Oh, has this movie converted you to the church?
I don't. The more I watch Leo, for some reason he just doesn't. He doesn't do anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's his voice. I don't know.
Okay.
But this movie was really made me realize, like, he did a really good job. And I guess we're gonna skip to the end already. But when they wake up all on the plane, and he has that like look of disbelief, it was just so good. Like just that look.
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap. Like,
and if we're going to talk about the ending is so satisfying when they wake up. It's like, oh, it worked. It actually worked. And then there's the final shot, which people have debated on for the last 10 years, when you see the totem spinning, and they say, oh, if it keeps spinning, you're in the dream.
Yeah,
if it falls over, you're
in real life.
You're in real life, yeah. Now, what did you see in that final shot?
Well, I know a couple things prior. First off, as say a new viewer that knows nothing, because I had some prior knowledge. It does start to topple over a little bit right before it cuts out. Also, there's an explanation of the totem, which the spinning top is the totem that Leo is supposed to know that he's in real life, like we just explained. But that's not really his totem. That's Maul's totem. But Leo's Cobb's real totem is the wedding ring. And he only wears his wedding ring when he's in the dream, because Maul still exists in a dream.
Okay.
And he was not wearing a wedding ring in the ending scene.
So he'd be in real life if he's not wearing the wedding ring.
If he's in real life, he's not wearing the wedding ring.
So that would be two pieces of evidence that suggest it is real life.
Yes, and
the totem toppling over, which is what I've always said. I was like, oh, it wobbles at the end.
Yes.
But the wedding ring thing, I feel like I'd heard of that, but I didn't. I wouldn't have been able to recall it.
There's a major third piece of evidence.
Goodness me.
I don't know if you probably heard of this, but Michael Caine said that he had a conversation with Christopher Nolan when they first made it.
What, did you just ask him?
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Where he was like, I don't understand. Where's the dream? And Christopher Nolan said, he's like, all right, I'm going to simplify this. Whenever you're in the scene, it's real life.
Okay. I feel like I remember
Caine was in the scene. It's real life.
I just looked it up, too. Caine has 3 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be a much bigger role, because I heard this prior. I heard that the whenever you're in the scene, it's real life thing prior to watching the movie. So I'm like, oh, he's probably in it a lot. But he's just
most of it takes place in the dreams.
He's in literally
two
scenes.
Yeah.
But yeah, the open-ended endings. How do you feel about those?
It depends. I like one where you kind of know what happened, but you can interpret it in a different way, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And something like this gives you enough evidence to draw your own conclusion. There are some things where, if we bring it back to something we're both quite familiar with, The Sopranos has no ending, really. It's that leaves you with no evidence to suggest anything. So I like something like this where it says, it's like, okay, here's something, you can take this in different directions. Or a movie like, have you ever seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind?
No. It's on the list.
I think that's one of the best endings to any movie ever. And you can read it in two completely different ways.
Okay.
Which is one reason I love it, is because it can be like this beautiful, joyous ending, or you can view the same exact thing as tragic. Yeah. And I think this thing's kind of the same.
And we also talked about the prisoner ending, too.
Yes, the ending of The Prisoners, which I believe Denis Villeneuve has a little Christopher Nolan influence in his stuff.
Oh, okay.
Not in the stories more so, but just in the style.
Yeah. I can like them because I like the idea of it, but sometimes I just tell me.
Yeah.
You know?
That's how I felt with Prisoners. I was like, dude, just get him out of there.
Because like it's almost like
no one's gonna blame you, or show him walk away. Just let me know what happens.
Right. It almost feels like sort of a cop out, because then it almost makes it like the movie is only as good as what the viewer thought is what happens at the end. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like if someone thinks, oh my God,
that's a good point, actually.
It's so much deeper that he was still in a dream because he didn't care at that point that he was dreaming anymore. He just wanted to see his kids.
Yeah. And I think that could go either way, where it's like, oh, you just kind of leave it to the fans to figure out what happened.
Right.
And sometimes I think, oh, a big group of people could come to a good consensus, better than just one individual who has to make a decision. But a lot of times that one individual should probably, if he made that story, it should probably be up to him to finish it, you know?
Right. Yeah, I mean...
I remember with Prisoners, somebody once asked Hugh Jackman, they were like, oh, did you get out of the hole at the end? And he was like, yes, how did I think I got here?
What a smart ass. What a good answer. But like I told you, and spoiler alert if you haven't seen Sopranos, but I love the Soprano ending.
I do too. I like it quite a bit.
I loved it. But I could see someone who invested all their time into watching the series being like, really? And like, you know, because obviously we watched it on streaming when it was all already out. When someone's watching it on live TV, and same with like a movie, you're sitting there for 2.5 hours, you spent your money on a movie, and then it's going to leave you like that.
Yeah. I remember I had that conversation with my dad where I was like, oh, I like the Sopranos ending. And he didn't like it because he sat there Sunday nights for 8 years for an hour every night waiting to see what happened, and then he was gifted with nothing. I spent, I don't know, 2 months watching the show. Exactly. So I can understand if somebody who has more of an investment, and that's a good point in the movie. It's somebody who sits down and pays their money there, and it's an event. They went out that night. It's not just us throwing it on TV just to see it, you know.
And like 2.5 hours of this movie.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's always moving.
Oh, it doesn't feel its length at all. Yeah.
Yeah. Like even like in like the slower parts where they're not even slow, but like after like the first job with Saito, they get on the helicopter.
But all the stuff they're talking about, you're just glued to the screen.
Well, you always have to pay attention because then you're just
you need to pay attention.
Looking at actors talking, you know.
Have you seen The Prestige?
No, that's also Nolan, isn't it?
No, I think it's just as good as Inception. I love that movie so much. Yeah, I could watch that one over and over again. And it is another movie you need to watch closely.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Mike, you got a list of things about Inception I'm going to throw at you here. Alternate castings for Cobb. Because they ended up with Leo. They ended up with Leo. They nearly went with Brad Pitt. How's that make you feel?
I love Brad Pitt, but I don't think that's the role for him.
Yeah, neither do I. And the other name thrown out there is the slapper himself, Mr. Will Smith.
Will Smith?
Yes, it says Will Smith.
I thought you were going to say Christian Bale.
Ooh,
which I don't think is really him, but...
Yeah, it doesn't fully feel him. And it would have been back-to-back years with The Dark Knight Rises. So that'd be a lot of...
All right, this is right after Dark Knight Rises?
This is right before. This was 2011. Rises was 2012.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But...
Will Smith, what is this, Men in Black at that point?
He's too fun.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I think the casting is perfect.
Yeah, Leo kills it. The whole team that Cobb puts together was put together to be like a movie crew. Because Cobb is the director, Arthur's is considered the point man or the producer. Ariadne is product designer. Eames is the forger. He's an actor. He goes and impersonates people. He puts on an act.
Right.
So every piece was put together. And what else was it? Saito was the studio. He's the guy who finances it. So he put it together to be like... And even these titles were all like kind of code names to put a movie together for Fisher, who's basically the audience.
Oh, Fisher's the audience.
Yeah.
Interesting. And what I like about the movie is there really isn't a antagonist, I would say. I guess you could say Maul's the antagonist.
Yeah, kind of, but it's just sort of... I don't know, kind of old baggage, I guess you could call it.
I guess they set up in the beginning, it kind of seems like Fisher's the antagonist, but he's really more of a subject.
Yes.
You know?
You don't view him as like, this bad guy.
Yeah, no.
And at the end, when they get in there and they open the safe, and it's like the pinwheel he made when he was a kid.
Yeah.
A very, very sweet moment that you have compassion for him for. It's not, you're not, at no point are you like, these are bad people.
I have to say, good. I'm glad you mentioned it because I remember I was going to say this beforehand, but the action, the entire movie takes you through like action highs and lows and stuff like that, right? And it all leads up to this one moment in that room where he talks, where Fisher is talking to his father.
Yeah.
And then he just says one sentence. He says one sentence, which is the inception of the idea.
Yeah.
and like it's just one sentence is just such a payoff for everything.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy crap, they actually did it.
Yeah.
And then obviously you ride up, and then they wake up. And
yeah, and the whole movie is just it's a giant mechanism that gets bigger and bigger, and there's so much action and different types of action. There's the car chase, there's the hallway thing where everybody floats, and then obviously at the end with I believe it's the last one is the basin with all the snow.
Yes.
That they shoot all the guys out.
And then Limbo.
And then it's this beautiful contrast, and then Limbo, and then the beautiful contrast for when the payoff is very quiet, solemn, human moment. And that's the only way to make that work.
Yeah,
like would another big fight be cool? Yeah, but it wouldn't have hit nearly as strong.
And the way like everything like kind of lines up with like Yusef's story, the chemist story, where he's driving around, and then Arthur's left in his dream to figure out how to get a kick for them to wake up with zero gravity. So he puts the charges on the elevator.
Yeah.
And then the story of just them, everyone who was left, Eames, Saito, Fisher, Cobb, and Ariadne, getting Fisher into the room, and then everything going into them going down into limbo. All this lining up for the kicks to happen right at the same time. So they ride up all the kicks up and wake up back on the airplane.
Yes.
It was done so well.
Yeah. And I love it when they go back and forth between them. Just it shows you where each one is at. Especially with the van falling out, going in the water.
They do it so seamlessly. Like it's not like overbearing. Like, oh my god, we want to know what happens at we want to keep watching what's going on with Cobb and them, but like they just show like quick scenes of what Arthur's doing while everything's going. Like everything's just so intense that you don't really care that they're taking time away from the main story. Cause obviously it's important, but like it's not.
And I think they established that like, oh, this thing hinges upon the other thing, so we're invested in seeing the other thing when they show it. So we're not like, oh, not this. It's like, oh no, all these are equally important because it's a chain reaction thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I also find it cool that how they explain the time difference between the dreams, like how like 5 minutes in the real world is an hour in the dream world.
Yeah.
Which is basically
then more and more.
Yeah, which is basically what dreaming is. Like, your dreams
true.
can feel like they last forever, but you just wake up like a few hours later.
Yeah.
Or maybe like that dream happened for like 2 minutes.
Most of mine are very short.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
exactly.
Let me throw something at you now. Cobb's first name is Dom.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Dom, Robert, Eames, Arthur, Maul, Sato. Spells dreams.
Dreams, baby, dreams.
That's right. Oh, anytime there's a number, somebody writes a phone number on a napkin, then it's the code in the safe, and then 2 of the room numbers in the hotel. It's all the same number, because when you're in a dream, you'd remember numbers or names from things in the real world. Because it's all a projection. They're just remembering the same numbers over and over again, which I think that's quite clever as well.
It was all about the same number of the safe.
It ended up all being the safe combination. Yeah. So this combination was hidden multiple times ahead of the movie, ahead of that actually happening. I mean,
damn, I love those intricacies.
Love it. Love a good intricacy.
And I believe this is like one of Nolan's first like just original source materials, where like wasn't based on. Like,
I looked it up. It said Nolan came up with the idea when he was 16. It's a pretty intense idea.
What'd you say?
He came up with this idea when he was 16.
Really?
That's a pretty intense idea for a 16-year-old to come up with.
And like, look how much time it took for him to actually realize it.
It was probably good that he developed it this fully, though.
Yeah, this is definitely because I pictured him just like being like, I want to make another movie. Let's do dreams, and then just making this entire thing in like such a short amount of time. This entire like concept. But,
yeah, because he did before this. I believe he came up with Memento. Yeah. Yeah, him and his brother wrote Memento. And then he did the Batmans, and then Prestige was based on a book. So this was one of his first big movie, at least. That was actually his own idea.
I'm trying to think what other Nolan. I know I saw all the Batman trilogy. I saw Inception.
Yes.
And then I saw Interstellar.
You saw Interstellar? Okay, yeah.
I think that's it, though.
I think after Interstellar and Dark Knight Rises, and I think since then, pretty much with everything, I don't want to say he's gotten, maybe not to a fault, but he's gotten maybe a little overambitious.
Why? What has been his... recent
just
ones.
because like Interstellar is because he made Inception, Dark Knight Rise back to back. So the studio was like, do whatever you want. We don't care. You're a cash cow.
Mm-hmm.
But then with Interstellar, it's like I think it's really, really good. I love that movie.
I think Interstellar is great. The first time I watched it was in physics class.
I don't think they set things up as nearly as well as Inception. So when you get to the very complicated, complex stuff in Interstellar, you're more likely to get lost, or more likely to just be a little, or maybe the payoff doesn't hit as much as you want it to because the steps to get there weren't as clear.
I actually don't think I finished that movie. I don't think we had enough time in the school year, but I gotta rewatch it regardless. But I'll let you know.
I don't know why Matt Damon's in that movie.
Is he?
Yeah, he plays like the astronaut who's like gets stranded from the last mission, and it could have literally just been.
Oh, right.
There was no reason for it to be just like a big name. Yeah.
This is a weird statistic. Even though it's few, the fact that there is this amount of numbers is insane. But he's played 2 roles where he's been a stranded astronaut.
Yes. But and then he did Dunkirk was the next movie.
Oh, Dunkirk. I haven't watched that either.
It's quite good.
That's with Harry Styles.
Is with Harry Styles.
Oi, it's Harry. Thank you for being vaccinated and enjoy the show.
But yeah, the problem. I think that's his worst characters. None of those characters are memorable.
What, Dunkirk?
Dunkirk, yeah.
Really?
Just because
I thought it was a good movie.
It's quite good. It's a good spectacle. They actually do time jump stuff, which he likes to do in this movie. Which you
he loves the concept of time.
You wouldn't think he would do that in
except for Batman. Batman didn't have time.
Well, they do interesting stuff with flashbacks.
Well, like how Inception, like time slow, like it's. I'm not talking about like flashbacks, but like there's a concept. Like Interstellar, when they're on the planet, it's like every second is like 30 years or whatever, whatever the hell it was. And then Inception, how dreams are slower.
Oh, okay. But like in this one, there are things you see that happen before other scenes, and you don't know that. You think they're happening at the same time, and then it's like a twist later on. And it's the same with Prestige, where flashbacks, present day, and future are all intercut between each other, and Memento is told backwards.
Really?
Yeah, each scene, it's like all the scenes are played like forwards, but like the order of the scenes is in reverse. So the twist comes at technically the start of the story.
So did you just spoil that for me? Like, are you not supposed to know that it's backwards?
No, you know it's backwards when you're watching it. Yeah.
I also like how
because the main character has short-term memory loss, so he only remembers the scene you're watching, which is it's a cool twist to it.
Well, so you just spoiled it for me.
That's not the twist, though. That's not the twist. You know those two things.
Yeah, I like how Inception book ends with the scene with him and Saito, where Saito's old and he's like trying to make him realize that he's in limbo so he can come back and realize the agreement of wiping the criminal record.
Did you see Tenet?
No.
It's good, but like it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's like Inception if you were like dropped in the middle of it. Like it's just
what's
not
it about?
It's there's like time going forwards and time going backwards taking place in the same world, and you can like transfer between the two. There's some cool things that happen in it, but
that is not what I thought the movie was going to be about.
It's not an idea that you can that's easily grasped. And the whole time I was watching it, like I tried to get it, but like at the start of the third act, I was enjoying it. There was some fun action scenes and it was cool, but like
I
really wasn't positive what was going on.
As confusing as Inception first presents itself, I find it so funny how I understood the concept of the dreams more than the endgame time traveling.
That's a fair point, I guess. Yeah.
They should have at least consulted Christopher Nolan on it. Hey, how should we do this?
Yeah.
Because that was ridiculous. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could just be me, but I don't think I'll ever see a movie again that'll be as cohesive and explain everything so well as that movie did, as Inception.
For the challenge it had to set that up, it's wildly impressive how well it was pulled off. I agree that something like that. I don't know if I'll ever see something like that again.
Yeah.
Where it's one of those things I watch and I say like, I don't know how they did that.
Yeah. I honestly like,
and Prestige. I put that in the same category.
Okay.
But it's two Nolan things. So
I was watching in the middle. In the middle, I have to say, in the beginning, I was kind of nervous because I was like, this doesn't look as good as I thought it was gonna be. Like the first Dream, like it seemed more James Bondy.
Okay, yeah, I kind of
like I don't know about this, but it eventually it becomes so much more than James. I mean, I guess you could say that Tom Hardy represents quite James Bondish.
Yeah, he's very slick. And
is that his real accent? What's his real accent?
He's English.
No, but like, is that his real voice? Because he could be putting on another voice.
I honestly don't know. In every movie, he's so inaudible.
Because it was such a weird voice, and I remember he got into a fight with someone in the movie.
He has kind of an odd voice in real life.
He grunts in the accent. He's like, oh!
But, no, I honestly don't know. Because, like, in Bane, you obviously don't know what he sounds like. In Mad Max, he barely speaks, and he has a mask on in that, too.
In Venom, he's unintelligible.
Oh, he's got his weird, like, American accent.
The American accent, and then playing Venom itself, you have no idea what this thing is saying.
Like trailers and just like the commercials I watch because I haven't seen those movies. I really don't know what he's saying in them.
Yeah, it's bad. I haven't watched the second one, but I heard it's even worse. Like the unintelligibility. Of it.
I couldn't will myself to watch those. Well, not will myself, but like I just have zero interest.
Okay, yeah, I understand that.
And I love Hardy, but I just don't
love Hardy.
Love the Hardy man.
Probably this might be my favorite role of his. Well, you got Bane. He was in him and Cillian Murphy are in Peaky Blinders, which I haven't seen, but I don't know.
Peaky Blinders is absolutely fantastic. He's like he pops up every now and then in Peaky Blinders. His character is awesome. Alfie Simmons, I believe. But
dear Alfie boy, welcome to the Peaky Blinders.
Mad Max, he isn't even the main character.
I haven't seen Mad Max.
He's Max, but he isn't the main character. I can't put him above. Oh yeah, and he's in Dunkirk too. He plays a pilot. But
yeah, it seems like
I can't put him above Bane. The Bane performance is still top tier.
I think it gets a little borderline goofy, but that's not topic of discussion.
No, it is not. But it fits with how Bale is getting goofier, so I don't think it. The contrast isn't there.
Yeah, I do like how Nolan has like recurring ensemble casts like Tom Hardy, whatever the Marion Cotillard or whatever,
yeah.
Cillian Murphy, who else?
Michael Caine's been
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Michael Caine's been in all his movies, I think.
Michael Caine's in all of his movies. How he has like this always like a recurring ensemble, like a side characters, but the main character is someone new, like Christian Bale.
Oh yeah,
Leonardo. Who's the main character of Dunkirk? Is it Harry Styles? Is it Harry?
Not really. There's not really a main character, honestly.
Okay, there's not really a main character.
Yeah, it just shifts between. Cillian Murphy's in that too, but
oh jeez.
You don't like him?
I don't know how I feel about him, to be honest. I'm not keen on him.
He has magnificent cheekbones.
Thank you, Pat.
He has magnificent cheekbones.
He has an interesting face.
He has a very interesting face. A tad scary.
He's a strong face.
He's also the main character in his newest movie, Oppenheimer.
I don't even know what that is. I think I've heard of it.
Oppenheimer. He's the guy who made the H-bomb.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm not going to watch it if he's the main character.
It's him, Florence Pugh, Robert Downey Jr., Emily Blunt, Matt Damon's in it.
Matt Damon again, for what?
And the great Josh Peck. That really rounds
Josh Peck?
That really rounds out the cast. Josh Peck is in it.
Is Matt Damon also another stranded astronaut?
I bet they haven't even been to the moon yet, but I bet he plays a stranded astronaut.
Okay, very good, very good. All right.
Give me your final thoughts, Mikey.
I plan on giving this a 5 on Letterboxd.
Hit Mikey up on the box.
I would recommend this movie.
Drop your ad in the Letterboxd.
I don't even know what my ad is. And I'd rather not
Ryan,
because my reviews are a little weird.
There's nothing wrong with your reviews. My ad is Ryan Caruso.
What is my ad? Ryan Caruso. M. Frieri. That's Frieri. And I'm planning on giving this a 5. This will be a movie that I recommend to literally everyone, along with Whiplash. Yes, Christopher Nolan, fantastic job. I honestly want to watch this again tonight. Godspeed.
I'm right there with you. 5 stars. I think he's got so many great movies, so it's hard for me to say, like, oh, this is definitely his best one. But no, this movie's fantastic. And if you just like movies, you're going to enjoy this. You're going to have a good time with it.
So far, this is the best one I've watched of his.
And I'm not going to knock that at all. I fully understand that.
Okay. And I don't really see myself liking anything more than this. But, obviously it could happen.
Yeah, you never know. He's still pretty young. He's like 50 or whatever. Yeah, he's already got a good catalog, so.
Yeah. I think he's done well. He's done well.
He has done well for himself. Thank you for listening to the Brinx Truck and Hearse podcast. My name is Ryan McNeil.
My name is Mikey Frieri.
And don't forget, folks, the Heidi Heidi Ho.
Heidi Heidi Ho.